Hello everybody, welcome to the Hacienda. We're here. Today we're going to make a Spanish stew, Fricandó. This unique stew comes from Catalunya, which is in the northeast corner of Spain, bordering France along the Pyrenees Mountains. And it is a very, very unique stew, and you'll be able to tell the French influence on it as we cook it. Unique in the sense it doesn't have all the gobs of vegetables and stuff like potatoes and all we normally associate with stew. It's essentially mushrooms, mushroom and beef. You use a combination of fresh mushrooms, and we have baby bellas here, and I've got 3 different types of dried mushrooms which we're going to reconstitute, and the liquid from that adds a great flavor to the stock or sauce. In the Spanish tradition, the sauce is not thickened with flour, but we're going to make a paste with toasted roasted almonds and parsley and garlic. It also utilizes unsweetened baker's chocolate to give the sauce a richness. We're going to use beef stock, some white wine, and here we got some sweet rich sherry, which those two are going to add some real nice flavor to the gravy as well. Here we have a rump roast, and we'll show you how unique way of cooking this stew is. In the fricandó, traditionally the meat is cut into thin slices like this instead of chunks, and you can use any kind of meat you want, but a tough cut is the best, because there's going to be a long time of nice, beautiful simmering. I'm putting together a Bouquet Garni with parsley, rosemary, thyme, marjoram, I think, tarragon, and bay leaves and celery. And this is going to be the flavorant for the stew. Let's see if I can make this properly, like I've seen them do on TV. Oh yeah, it's a lot easier than you think. Alright, so there we go. I'm going to do this on the other side. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but I've seen this on YouTube, and they do it a lot on these cooking shows, the one where I saw this recipe, and I thought, that is so odd. Why would you want to do this? Grate a tomato. Well, I decided to give it a whirl, and I just discovered why. It's great. You don't get any of the skin, and you get this beautiful, fresh tomatoes. There you go. Alright, in a large skillet or pan, in this case I'm using my paella pan, over medium-high heat, we've got some olive oil, and we've dredged the beef in flour after we generously salt and peppered it on both sides. So let's go ahead and fry it up here. Now we're not going to cook it all the way through, we just want to brown it, because the beef is going to actually cook through during the simmering process. After cooking the meat, we have this delicious fond at the bottom, and so now we're going to make our sofrito, which is onions and carrots, and that's going to help deglaze the bottom of the pan. To help that along, we're going to add a little bit of Spanish white table wine, and this comes from Castile. Once we've cooked these onions to within an inch of their lives, we want to get it really nice and soft, which they are. And we're going to add 2 ounces of unsweetened baker's chocolate, as well as those 4 grated Roma tomatoes, and continue cooking this. And I've already also added a generous pinch of kosher salt. Alright, this is smelling really good. You can see that the chocolate has added a really dark richness to this. This is looking really nice. So what we're going to do at this point, we're going to add the liquid from the mushrooms that are being reconstituted. as well as a little bit of beef stock, and we're going to bring this up to a boil and keep cooking it for about another 5 minutes. Alright, 5 minutes later, we're going to put the Bouquet Garni in there, and another little sprinkle of Kosher Salt. I just tasted this. This sauce tastes really good, but it's not done yet. We want to get that in there to release all its beautiful aromas. And so now we're going to start nestling the meat into the sauce, and you see how this stew is not very soupy, and that's another one of its signature things. It's kind of thick and rich. So once we get all the meat in there, we're going to leave it at a bubble like this, or simmer, and we're going to cook it for an hour, hour and a half. So join me then. To make the picada, that is the thickener for the stew, we need some garlic, roasted almonds, I guess that's about right, and a buttload of parsley. Now, if it gets a little too dry, we're going to add some wine, but we're going to go ahead and cook it and pulse it in the Cuisinart. Right, it's been an hour and a half, and during that time I've been adding a little bit of beef stock every now and then as it starts drying out. But we're going to continue cooking it for a couple more hours until the beef gets really tender. And at this point, we're going to start, for liquid, adding some of this oloroso sherry. This is going to give it a nice, rich, sweet flavor. Well, not really sweet, although the sherry is sweet. It's going to temper the sharpness of the white wine and the flavors. Alright, about an hour before the fricandó is ready, we're going to start cooking the mushrooms, and the fresh ones actually. And over a hot skillet with some olive oil, we're going to cook down the fresh mushrooms, get them nicely cooked, release all their moisture, and then we're going to add them to the stew. With about an hour left to cook, you can see how this fricandó is just lovely, smelling really good. Now we're going to add the rehydrated dried mushrooms, which are going to give a beautiful flavor. The fried mushrooms, which these are the fresh ones, which have been fried in olive oil for golden brown, and just took out their moisture and just give it a rich flavor. Once we've got all the mushrooms mixed in nicely, we're going to add a little bit more sherry. We'll call it half, 3/4 of a cup, and there we go. Alright, so our fricandó is done pretty much, and the meat is tender, everything is looking good. At this point, just before we turn down the heat, or turn off the heat, about 10 minutes before serving, we are going to put the picando. And this is a thickener made with almonds and garlic, and let me tell you, that has a delicious flavor, very garlicky. Man, I want to use this in some other recipes. I can use this and jazz it up elsewhere. But anyway, this almonds are a traditional thickener for Spanish recipes dating back from, oh my god, 1,000 years ago. So let's turn off the heat, let's mix this in and plate some up. And here we go, fricandó with mushrooms, setas in Spanish, and some basmati rice. Let's go ahead and dig in. Alright, so let's taste this deliciousness. We know the basmati rice is good. Oh my goodness, all these mushrooms, all these different kinds of mushrooms, dehydrated mushrooms, regular mushrooms. Let's try this. The sauce is gorgeous. Very nice. Mushrooms, well, what can I say? If you like mushrooms like I do, what can you do? Hold on. We need a knife. There you go. Meat is almost fork cutting tender. Not quite. Let's try this. Let me say this about that. As I was cooking this, when I added the chocolate and the white wine and salt, I tried it and I thought, oh no, this ain't gonna work. But as the hours went on and I added the different ingredients, they came together, and this is just beautiful. So if you're gonna make this, don't try it while you're cooking, because you're gonna be disappointed, as I was. But I had the fortitude to stick with it and carry on, and I'm glad I did. The almond thickener is absolutely delicious. It's different from flour or potatoes and adds a little bit of sweetness to it. And the garlic, of course, is the only garlic in the recipe and adds a flavor. Wow. If you're a mushroom lover like I am, this is a recipe for you. This is a novel recipe for beef stew without the potatoes, without the celery, without all that other garbage vegetables in there. This is a man's meat stew. Thanks for watching, people. Bye-bye.